Thanos will have that stone.
All right. G'day, everyone. Welcome to Comics, Mate, your mates in comics from the land down under. I'm Dean James, and I'm here with my special guest host for the evening, Vaughn. Say hello, mate. You are muted.
You told me to mute, and then I forgot to unmute. But it's doing great, man. I'm glad to finally do this. It's nice to talk about comics I like. You know, it makes me less depressed than talking about comics I don't. So
yeah. Well, anyone familiar with my channel knows that I spend a lot of time talking shit about comic books.
don't we all?
Yeah, this is a nice change of pace. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, you have to remind especially with the state of everything these days, you have to continuously remind yourself why it is you like this stuff in the first place.
Yeah,
because
I think
if you look at the mainstream today, it's no good.
And I think, in all honesty, I know more, and this is kind of depressing. I'm thinking about it. I feel like we spend more time, like even with all the people I know in this space, with a lot of them, I feel like I've spent more time talking about comics that pissed us or what we don't like about current comics and less about what we liked about back then. And that's why, with my book, I thought it was so important to really go back and just bring back everything I loved and bring it into the modern era. Because I got just tired of like, I could never do videos every day talking about stuff that just bothers me, especially when one of the good things about being young and into comics is knowing that like everything is new to me in a way, because it's like, I feel bad for the fans that have read, like, let's say every X-Men issue and all they have is the new stuff. Now,
that
I'm
new
nearing
stuff
the
is
end
terrible.
of Claremont's run, but then it's okay because then I have to finish New Teen Titans. Then I have a bunch of Spider-Man, and now there's a bunch of indie stuff, and
yeah,
I think the disadvantage we have in the indie scene is we lack the volume that they have. I know I could pay for Marvel Unlimited subscription, and I don't have to ever touch the new stuff, and they could still be winning me over by just literally putting the old stuff on there.
Yeah, well, the mainstream, like when we talk about the mainstream, it's usually just Marvel and DC that we're talking about, because Image still do good stuff, but more often than not, you find that it just isn't what it used to be. Like whether they've changed it for political reasons or whatever, there's more crap these days than there is good stuff coming out of those big two, and like that was actually what made us do this in the first place. Was I had people, like random people in my comment sections saying, like on my videos, not on my streams, because these guys are all awesome. But like I had people saying, "Oh, why do you run a comic book channel if you clearly don't like comic books?" And it's like, no, I've loved comic books my entire life. Like this these are the things that make me want to want to be a comic creator in the first place. And so that's how this whole stream thing was born.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it came from a love of the medium. And me, when I was just getting into comics, it was a very weird time because it was like, as a new reader, I almost was like, do I want to even, it was a really weird time. And I feel like we could either, there's a ever shifting editorial changes and corporate changes at the big two. And we can complain about that all day. But at the end of the day, what I want to do is take what I loved from before and channel it into something new. But that also means, listen, I just love talking about comics that I love. I love it. I love talking about and when I hate something, that they're doing recent, it's because I loved what was.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe I just think it sucks. But generally speaking, if I'm like, oh, I don't like that this character did that, it's because I love the character and I know they wouldn't do that. Or
yeah. And you're not alone in that, That's how most comic book fans feel. Like, you've seen it over the last few years. The sales have just dropped all over the place, and more people move to indie comic books. And like, whether it's CG or not, more people just move to indie comic books, full stop. They're like, I'm done with all this crap, and they just want, we just want good entertainment at the end of the day.
That's what that's what it's weird. Like, I'm creating a comic that's catering to people who've never read it and people that love the old stuff and want that spirit back. I remember, my editor, when he was first going on a call with me, he goes, this made me feel like I was visiting an old friend, is how he described it,
Oh, nice.
And it's like, that's exactly what I'm going for. It's like, sometimes we like the darker stuff, but, and there's some dark stuff on my list. I tried to get a hashtag diverse list together. I tried to do some hip. I know you mentioned not too well-known ones, but my whole thing is like, okay, so for example, Claremont's run is well-known, but not every story within it is well-known, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I mean,
like,
that.
We've brought up, more well-known ones, but like, like The Last Ronin, I brought up a few streams back.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously everybody knows what that is, but not everyone has read it,
Yeah,
but
I thought that was fantastic. That was one of those few modern stories where I go, this is what I'm going to say to my kids. Yep, I got this on the shelf.
It's my favorite Ninja Turtle story. Yeah.
It's very rare that I read. Like, that's how I was feeling reading House and Powers of X until it kept going, and I was like, oh. Yeah, I was like, the original start of it, right? That the X-Men are gonna be brainwashed because there's it literally didn't register as a possibility. It didn't register as a possibility that they would actually be doing this. I was like, I
had the same thing, man.
Like, I didn't even think it was, because I had heard for years people were saying, oh, modern comics, they're so out of character and that. But I was like, listen, people exaggerated. I knew that there were problems in modern comics, but I didn't even think it conceivable that like Scott Summers and Charles Xavier actually were like, yeah, let's break bread with all of the worst mutants ever and just go against their goal as mutants. I couldn't wait.
Let's just be mutant supremacists now. It's fine.
Yeah. I couldn't wait for the reveal that they were being brainwashed or they were all test tube babies or something that I could. And then I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, I had the same thing, man. I thought that they were all going to be, like in incubation chambers or something underneath Krakoa, and that was where the real X-Men were. And that twist just never came. They was like, oh, no, this is really what they're like now. Okay, fair enough.
I lasted like 8 issues. And I was like, man, this is just like, because I was reading, and I've said this before, but so I started reading the comic run that made me realize I want to write comics was this one right here. So I started reading this, and then it was right like within a month or so, House and Powers of X comes out, or might have even, it was still on the stands. Like the whole series had come out, but I had finished reading this volume, and I was going back and forth, and I was like, and again, these were both new to me. And I mean, obviously these are classic stories, right? These are classic characters, but I was reading them both the first time. So I was like, I like the old stuff better, man. Like, it's not about nostalgia, dude. Not for me. It was
Yeah, no,
about
I'm the same, man. I'm the exact same as you there. Like, I was reading them, like, when the characters were new to me. I read some of the really old stuff when I was growing up, but I got out of comic books as a teenager and then got back into it as a young adult.
Mhm.
And it was a stark difference. Like, these characters were fresh in my mind, and then I would go to the new stuff and they were acting in completely different ways. And it's
Dude,
like, this isn't even the same guy. What happened in this, like, gap?
Dude, Kitty Pryde acts more like a bratty teenage girl as a girl in her 20s, like late 20s, than she did
Than
when she
she
was
ever did.
13. She was 13
Right?
and like she was a little girl, but she was mature for her age, but she was also a stupid kid making mistakes.
Yeah.
Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I do wonder if I subconsciously pulled from her when writing my character. But I mean, it's just a trope, but it's a good one, right? Like the new kid, but she was just a well-written character. She had flaws, but she was endearing. The new one acted like a generic girl boss. She was like getting drunk, yelling at kids, like hooking up with guys in a panel, and then you never see them again. I'm like, that's Kitty Pryde was not that. Kitty Pryde was the kind of girl she wouldn't like the hookup thing. I don't buy it. Like she was the
Yeah, I
kind of
don't
girl
think
that was
she'd do that
pining
either.
over Colossus, who was way older than her, and she was like almost like, okay, I'll wait. Like that's who Kitty Pryde was. She
Yeah,
wasn't
well,
a girl that would just hook up with a guy at a bar. And didn't she like leave him at the altar in the
yeah,
recent comic?
now she's in a
Girl
lesbian
boss,
relationship.
yes,
She's
queen.
bisexual now. She's in a
Well, apparently
lesbian
she. All right.
relationship
To be
now.
fair, I'm pretty sure she was meant to be bisexual from Claremont because there's
No,
some
but she's in
Excalibur
a
stuff.
lesbian relationship now. Like, she left Colossus for some chick. I can't
Oh,
remember
did
who.
she?
Yeah.
She was doing shit like she was like kneecapping people unnecessarily. I'm like, Kitty Pryde was never this excessively brutal. And the problem I have with it is they're like clapping for this. I'm like, when someone would do like, for example, there's this. I don't know how much Claremont's run you. I should have put some Claremont. You know what? All right, I'll have
I've
to.
read all of Claremont's
All
run.
right, so I'm gonna come up
That
with a
is my
story.
X-Men.
All right, mine too. I'm almost done with it. 268
Nice.
was left. I'm reading a Starjammers miniseries right now. You know what I'm talking about? It's Terry Kavanagh, Dave Cockrum. So I was in the middle of reading that issue, but then I had a campaign to finish. But I should choose an undergraded gem from Claremont's run for this. So I'll add that as a bonus choice in addition to what I wrote. Like I'll just choose like a random issue or little storyline and then just say, hey, here's a comic I love that no one, because I feel like there's a lot of little storylines that no one talks about. You know what? I'll add two. I thought of them already.
All right, but before we jump into those, let's say hello to the chat first, because like there's a bunch of people here. So,
Yeah.
G'day, Felix. Good to see you, mate. Thanks for joining us. There'll be a game stream soon, Felix. I know you've been asking for that. I'm actually going to do Dean Does Dark Souls because I don't ever play Dark Souls, so it should be pretty funny to watch, and that'll be fun. But yeah, F Danny, fucking oath. Justice for Mo. I stand with Mo. Why? Where's Mo? Mo's not even here. G'day, Frog. Good to see you, mate. Mr. Yonafui, that's a new one. G'day, mate. Are you subscribed? Welcome. Appreciate you for joining us. Who else we got? Athaline. G'day, Athaline. Good to see you, mate. Lots of comments. Dean has embraced good comics. You should too. The Embrace. Yes, please do. Go check out The Embrace on Kickstarter now. It's the second chance campaign before we do The Embrace 2. So it's your last chance to read the first one before the second one comes out. So please do go check that out.
Dude, it's weird now. I have to readjust for a few days to not having a campaign right now, but it will be back up. So the link is still active. It'll be back up by the end of the week. And
Felix shared that a second ago. I saw it.
So
yeah,
make sure that you've got your eyes peeled. The Rini cover has flat. They look like more than flat colors, honestly. That I've got, and I'm excited for that. It's been really cool. Just seeing
nice.
the life. I updated all the covers.
G'day, Awesome One. The peak member of Comics Mate, Awesome One, deserves all the praise. Kimasabi, Dean Laugh, The Embrace. Yeah, Sand Sharks in the chat, everybody. If you can, put a Sand Shark in the chat. Hashtag Pizza Sharks. Who can't Witcher? Nerdrotic. That's shameful. Can you even say you play games if you don't know how to play The Witcher? The Witcher's not even difficult. G'day, Rex. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, mate. Who else we got? Scrolling down. Spectacular Umbreon. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Kitty Kitty Pryde dates Star-Lord and Spider-Man. Yeah, Kitty Pryde has dated a lot of different characters, but she was
a lot of
meant to be
Peters.
the Colossus. Yeah, I remember when she was with
Quill,
Star-Lord. I
Peter
was reading that
Parker,
at the time.
Peter Rasputin. She has a thing for Peters.
You've never played Dark Souls? What? Yeah, no, I played Bloodborne, but no, like I think I've played, because I didn't have to buy it or anything. I already had it on my Steam account, but I think I've played it for like 2 hours ever. So, no idea what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a new game, and I will have no idea what we're doing. It's going to be fun. G'day, Holy Hand Grenades. Welcome. Who else? Oh, yeah. Did I say hello to you? 40% there? But yeah, hello. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, mate. Yeah. All right, now we're down the bottom. Sand Sharks. Yeah, fuck yeah, Sand Sharks in the chat. Good boys. All right, now let's jump in. How many? You had more recommendations. I think I have 8 or 9 today. I'm not sure.
How many did I?
You want to go first?
A while ago. Should we do them all, or are we doing like back and forth?
No, we go one by one.
Okay.
Like one each.
So, all right. One of them I keep putting off getting the trade for, but I'm actually hoping to have 2 of the writers on for this week. I'll put them off later. So, okay, Michael Turner's Witchblade is so we're gonna go. I keep looking sideways because like an idiot, I sent the list to you the wrong direction. So okay, here we go. Witchblade is going to be in the first. I'm just going to go in the order that I think is convenient.
Yeah, just go in whatever order, man. That's fine.
I remember seeing just the spine of this in a local comic shop, and I was at a point where it's funny how like just hot women almost became like a symbol of rebellion. Which meant, more hot women in comics, which I'm okay with. But it was almost like I just, out of spite, started like buying chicks with hot women. But I saw this on the shelf, and then I saw these like silver pages, and I was like, oh my God. And I pulled it up, and I started looking at just the presentation of this at a local comic shop, and I ended up getting it. And I was just blown away by, first of all, the art, and then the writing was pretty damn good. I got David Wall to sign it, and then Mark Silvestri to sign it.
Nice.
I didn't get Matt Hawkins yet, but I have met him a few times. And I started reading it, and I really like Witchblade. Like Michael Turner's art obviously sells it. But the fact of the matter is, legend. You can read. For me personally, I can only go so far based on art reading a story. You know what I mean? And I have read. I haven't finished the third one yet. Michael Turner isn't on the book, but I still bought the next one, knowing that, which goes to show how they invested me in Sarah Pazzini as a character. She's a very solid protagonist. I like the supporting cast. I like Michael Irons. I really liked Witchblade, and Michael Turner quickly became one of my favorite artists when I started reading this. And then I read the next volume, and I think that it's consistently engaging. And then even when she loses the Witchblade, it's for a while, it stays interesting. And then she has to get it back.
Yeah.
And, it's, I don't know. Witchblade is just one I recommend. I just think it's really fun. I do think she is the better of those Bad Girl books, but it felt weird putting she on here just because I'm friends with Billy Tucci. So I was like, all right, if I'm friends with someone, although I don't know, because I put some stuff by some people I've met. But all right, she probably the best Bad Girl book that I've read, but Witchblade, that's up there. And I was so into Michael Turner's art, and then I started looking into him, and I remember watching, there was this like less than an hour long documentary on him on YouTube. And I was like, and then I was at a con in Boston. It was the same con I met Kayla, actually, from like, she's on Joe Sontag's show. And I found this. The Michael Turner. Do you have this Michael Turner Creations collection?
No, I don't. What the hell?
Oh my God, you gotta, dude. This is all right. If you're a Michael Turner fan, like essential. I'm normally not even a guy that spends a lot of time looking at comic art, but I remember after finishing up Soulfire, I just spent so much. Someone's make a she documentary. I should do a she documentary. Honestly. I would do it. Like, I have no problem with that. Actually, that sounds fun. But so I remember I read this, and then I just spent it was one of those. Oh fuck, the pages got bent. It was one of those things where I just literally, like, hours passed by, and I'm just marveling over the cover collection of Michael Turner's art. And I'm like, I would get a book just of all these ridiculous amount of variant covers he did for his stuff. But I remember being After seeing Witchblade, I was like, well, then I saw what Fathom looked like, and Fathom hooked me. But the
Fathom's one of my favorites. I've recommended that in the past.
See, I say Fathom, but the truth is, I think Fathom needed work in the writing department. I think it had a lot of cool ideas. I think it's some of his best artwork ever. And while on
it is
paper,
some of his best work, yeah.
I'm so glad I bought this in a collection because Soulfire didn't look as appealing to me. Look, if you're
I'm actually reading Soulfire now. Soulfire is something that I've only just recently come across.
Well, good, because that is going to be my next recommendation. So I read Fathom, I liked it, but then I read Soulfire, and I was like, oh, Jeff Loeb wrote this? And you could tell he learned from his mistakes in Fathom because Michael Turner, at that, I'm sure if he had, spent more time, he could have been a great writer. But in my opinion, he wasn't a great writer. He was a great idea guy and concept guy, but Fathom needed work. And then Soulfire, he hires Jeff Loeb to flesh out his ideas, and it's paced better, it's written better. I care more about the characters. And even though we're following this blonde kid instead of a hot chick, I fell in love with Soulfire, and I think it's his magnum opus. And it's such a tragedy that he didn't get to finish off that main storyline. I think the last issue or two was written by someone else or drawn by someone else.
You can see yourself in the blonde kid.
No, because I did a comic with one. But listen, if I have the choice between looking at the blonde kid or looking at the hot chick in the bikini, I'm gonna choose the hot chick every time.
Right? Yeah.
Would I rather see myself or a hot? Like I could look in the mirror and see a blonde guy, but the main kid, he's fine. I do think Fathom or Aspen is a more interesting character, but in terms of the story, Soulfire, I mean, I can't recommend it enough. I haven't read any of the post. The stuff that carried on, like with have you read any of the Fathom that came out after Michael Turner died?
No, I haven't. I've looked at it all, but none of it looked even nearly as good. So as far as I know, as far as I'm concerned, the original Fathom run with Michael Turner is canon, and then that's it. That's the end.
That's the thing. It's weird because I really wanted more Soulfire after reading it, but it's almost sad to know that he's not there, but I do wonder if it's worth reading because Fathom, that one, it's I could see there's something about Michael Turner girls specifically that even other great artists, just even Silvestri, I feel like even though he can
Silvestri's one of my favorites.
Yeah, even though he can draw a great Witchblade, there's something about the way Michael Turner just even draws her face that is it was an adjusting period when I knew. Even though Randy Green is a great artist, there was an adjusting period where I'm it's just not Michael Turner. And I don't know.
Crazy Mad, welcome.
But that was Witchblade, Soulfire. Those are my first two. Soulfire, I can't recommend enough. I mean, Michael Turner, and it's very rare that there are artists I love. Buffalo Bill moment, that's funny. But he's one of those artists where it's I'll follow him and it's sad that he passed and I didn't discover his work until after. But I mean, I had grown up on some of his covers looking back, and I'm wow, but he really was one of my top. He's in my top 5. He's in my Mount Rushmore favorite artists. So,
oh yeah, definitely. I think most comic fans agree that he's straight up a legend, and he was taken from us all too soon. But just imagine how far he would have gone if he was still alive today. It's ridiculous.
I mean, look at what he accomplished in really a relatively short time. Even
he was in comics for a long time. He was in comics for 10 years or something at most. It wasn't a very long time, but he made such a massive impact.
Even down to one of the most underrated, it's not even an iconic cover, but I don't know why. It's always been a cover that stuck with me. His Identity Crisis covers are really good, but there's one where it's literally, it's a very simple cover. It's just Wonder Woman holding a lasso, and it's the truth.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
I adore that cover. That's Michael Turner, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, so big fan of Michael Turner. And now moving into, getting back to, we were talking about Claremont earlier. Everyone talks about his X-Men run, and that's great. Now, one of the things that's interesting is I knew nothing about the New Mutants. Nothing going in. They're some of my favorite characters now. So I have the most, I don't know where, hang on, it might be in my closet, but I have I paid $200 for a mint for a mint condition New Mutants issue graphic novel 1.
G'day, Richard.
And I got it signed. I had Bob McLeod on my channel. Super nice guy, but I can't recommend New Mutants enough. I'm almost done with the full 100 issues. I mean, that even the first, just Claremont's, if you even just stop at Claremont's, I think he does the first 54 or even 50 is a solid stopping point.
G'day, Luniverse.
But yeah, I think I'd say next one, I'd say the original New Mutants run is absolutely a comic story I love. I mean, everything there's, and look at all the artists, Bob McLeod, Sal Buscema, Bill Sienkiewicz, it just keeps going. It's just, and the characters, these are characters I didn't care about at all, and I ended up loving all of them. So New Mutants, I can't recommend enough.
Hold on, someone's at my door. You talk to the chat for a second.
Okay, I will. Let's see. Oh, shoot. I was going to go grab my thing, but I have to hold down the fort. All right. We're going to bring up my next one. I'm going to get it loaded in the chamber. But yeah, let's see. I think, I mean, I love that one.
All right.
Vaughn is one step.
It was a delivery guy.
Oh, was it? Nice.
Yeah.
So the next one I want to talk about, 1986 was the greatest year in comic.
Yeah, hold on. I've got to recommend some as well. We're going back.
I thought I didn't know we were going. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, no. Don't go through your whole list yet. You already have more than me, so. Yeah. All right, hold on. Let me pull up. Yeah, my first recommendation for today.
Yeah.
All right.
So you better have some Michael Turner.
I do have some Michael Turner in today's
nice. Yeah, I think you said that, and I was like, I'm gonna one up him.
You're gonna bring all the Michael Turner.
Yeah.
My first recommendation today is actually it's one of the only books that I've ever read that is starring Swamp Thing, which I don't know. Like, this is Swamp Thing Roots of Terror. You can get this on like Amazon and eBay and everything. It's not too expensive. I think it was like $20 or something. It wasn't bad at all. But it's a collection of short stories that were originally released as like the Halloween special. And it's sick. It's like, I know you can see on the cover there, it says Tom King wrote something, which usually I would agree is a massive turnoff, but this is one of the only Tom King stories that I actually like, for real. Like, it's a very short story. It's sick.
Mm-hmm. Is this like in the same vein as the, they keep doing these like special issues where it'd be like these 8-page stories by a bunch of different creators. Is that what this is?
Yeah. It's just a bunch of short stories in here. But honestly, this thing here is sick. And I go back to it every Halloween for the last couple of years. I give it a read, right? Like, here's the Tom King story here. It's about Swamp Thing. Oh yeah, and great art in every single one of the stories, right?
Is that Fabic?
Yeah, I think so.
I could tell. Fabic is super nice too.
I've never met him, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got Swamp Thing, like the whole book is this Swamp Thing, like protecting this kid from a monster, and they're running from this monster, and you never see this monster, but everywhere they go, it's like blizzard, storm, like it's snowing, and they're both going to die out in the wilderness, and they just keep running from this monster. And that's literally the entire story until there's like a twist at the end and everything. Like, I won't spoil any of it for you, but like, it's just a great short story with Swamp Thing and this little kid and a monster chasing them. Yeah, and the monster is what's causing the snow.
Nice.
That's why it's a massive blizzard.
Yeah,
it's really, really good.
Characters that everyone has been like, it's like he has like a devoted fan base, and it's just at the time I was always like, I just wanted my mainstream superhero.
What? Have we lost Vaughn? Or have I lost connection?
Artsy feel? Hold on. Why did my camera just...
I don't know. You just like disconnected or something. I don't know what happened.
All right, I'm going to do the classic turn it off, turn it back on again technique, and we'll see if it works.
Richard says maybe because it's a short story, you don't have enough time to hate it. I mean, maybe. Honestly, maybe.
Dude, I mean, I don't like... I've never read much Tom King, and I don't know, but
his Batman turned me off comics for ages.
I heard a lot of people have said that.
Yeah, that was my first introduction to Tom King. I remember seeing Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo talking in some like promotional thing, and Scott Snyder's like, I'm leaving Batman, but we're really excited to get Tom King in there next, and I believe he's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. So I gave him a chance, and it was some of the worst stuff I had ever read, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it's not very good.
Swamp Thing doesn't have a domineering wife and submissive husband for Tom King to self-insert himself into. This is true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Maybe that's the key, is you just have to get him away from that.
Yeah.
It's
There are
weird because it
stories
was
I
like,
hate and there are writers I hate. Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. I'm hoping I could get this back because I actually do have these comics literally on my shelf. But you can keep. Oh, all right, keep going.
Well, yeah, even if you've never read Swamp Thing, right? This is a highly recommend. Like, this is a great introduction to the character too, because it's a bunch of short stories. You know, like all you really got to know. They kind of explain it all anyway, but all you really got to know is that he's the Swamp Thing. And then there's also a story in there from Greg Capullo, which is what originally made me buy it. And like these, it's actually really cool. It's like Halloween time, and these kids are like beating and murdering other kids. And then when they take their masks off, they're actually monsters. They're not kids. They're just like kid-sized monsters. And Swamp Thing and this like witch chick that I don't even know her name, they take him out. Whoops, wrong way.
I'm just gonna refresh the page real quick. I'll be right back. Hopefully that works.
Yeah, you're right. Welcome back. Yeah, this is Swamp Thing Roots of Terror. Highly recommend it. And yeah, I really don't like him either, Zed. Like you're not wrong at all to dislike Tom King. But, as you can see on the cover here, you got like a bunch of different writers and artists. So it's just one short story that has Tom King. And I swear it's not even bad. Welcome back. Yeah, we can see
Thank you. I'm alive. Yeah.
Like and subscribe for Tom King, I guess.
Let's see. That's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I haven't read any Swamp Things, but I've been told to read that. I've been told, obviously, Alan Moore's run.
Yeah.
He's one
Alan Moore's run is the definitive Swamp Thing, but even then, like I would say read this one, and then if you decide you like him, go read the Alan Moore stuff, because the Alan Moore stuff is extensive.
It's dense, right? He did a big.
Yeah.
Was that before Watchmen?
I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea.
But yeah, I mean it's interesting though. It's really cool.
It is very good though.
So let's see. So that's it. So Swamp Thing, a more recent one from you. Look at you.
Yeah, no, man, I'm not that old. I've got most of my recommendations are modern stuff, unless you're talking like X-Men and Spider-Man, which I'll go back to like the 80s. But like most of the books I read are modern day books, because I prefer like the art style and the digital coloring and things like that over the the 2 or 3 tone, depending on how old you want to go.
That's what I used to do. I used to have these old and I'd read some, but I generally they had to be like classic stories. Otherwise, I wouldn't.
Yeah, same.
The modern stuff, they're just visually more. They grab you, but then it's also like that's the thing now, is that grabs you, but does it hold you the way? I don't know, old stuff did. I feel like they don't have those long runs that much anymore.
I actually I recommended on the last one of these, I recommended X-Men Mutant Genesis 2.0, which is just the Mutant Genesis story, the Jim Lee Claremont X-Men, the like 8 issues of it or something, but it's all recolored and redone by some other colorist I don't even know. But it is so beautiful.
Giant
it's like
size X-Men #1.
Yeah, it's got X-Men #1 through 8, I think. It's 7 or 8, I can't remember. But yeah, it is. The recolored version, Mutant Genesis 2.0, is one of the most beautiful books I own. And I actually put it in my box that I'm doing a giveaway for. So
I remember
become a member.
I remember seeing that, but I was like, to be honest, not to be an ass, but I was like, I just feel like, and this is actually, that one's on my list. I don't know but I want to keep on yours. But Giant Size X-Men, I was like, it's just perfect. It's just.
I mean, it is. It is perfect. Like, I have both versions of the book on my shelf, Yeah. And I have issue 1 for real. Like I have the Magneto cover. But yeah, like there's something, like I don't know how to describe. There's something really special about the Mutant Genesis 2.0 recolor, because like it's the perfect way to read. Like if you've never read X-Men before or anything like that, it is the perfect like trade paperback. It's a hardcover, but it's like the perfect book to just give someone and be like, this is the X-Men. Check this out. You'll love it. And then it looks so beautiful, honestly. But yeah, Vaughn wants to be grabbed and held. By the time Dean gets around to that comment, it's going to come across in an entirely different light.
Yeah, probably.
Question for all: would you rather fight one monster-sized kid or 100 kid-sized monsters? Well, how big is the monster-sized kid?
What kind of monster are we talking? Are we talking?
Yeah.
That's a very specific question. You know what I mean? Like, I got to know more details. Like,
Yeah.
what if the monsters are small? So I assume the monsters in this case would be bigger, but how big are we talking?
Yeah, like, would I be able to overpower it with trickery, or is it just so big it's just going to step on me? Like, what size are we talking about?
Like, are we talking like 7 feet tall, like a Frankenstein, or how tall is Frankenstein? Are we talking Frankenstein tall? Or are we
He's
talking
like 7 or 8 feet tall, isn't he?
like kaiju? Okay,
kaiju monster kid. No, I'll take the 100 kid size monsters.
Yeah,
thanks.
100 kid size. Well, but what if they can all breathe like atomic? Like, that's what I mean. Like, we don't know their powers, but I maybe I'm overthinking it. But I'd say the kid size, the monster size kid. I'd say, because he has human weakness. You just hit him in the nuts.
Yeah, but a kid sized monster is just like a gremlin or something. I could kick 100 gremlins, no problem.
That's true.
Wouldn't even be an issue.
But I'd still
it
go
would have to be 100 kids tall.
Like, because kids are little bitches, you know. You just hit them hard enough, and they'll start crying and walk away.
Oh, Mo's right. The monster-sized kid is just a kid, so you could probably talk to him.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
so
if
I think I'd go the monster. I'm not. So what? 5'9"?
That's not kid sized.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's just normal human sized. Like
5'8", 5'9". I'm not 100. I'm somewhere around that.
We're definitely overthinking it.
That's what I think.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. We'll just jump into our next recommendation.
All right, let's hear it.
Yeah, my next recommendation is, I mean, I already put it on the screen by accident, so I might as well just fucking go.
This one I've heard good things about.
Yeah, this is actually, I swear, every single episode I recommend something by Scott Snyder, and here is another great Scott Snyder book. Honestly, this was right after I started reading The Court of Owls, which was my introduction to him in the first place. I was like, this guy's great. Let me find something else that he's written. And this was the first book I came across. It's called Witches. And they're not witches in like a pointy hat or anything like that. These witches are like creepy, gangly, naked old ladies in the woods. You know, they're monsters. You know, they're not like what you think.
They're not hot.
They do this like clicking noise with their mouths and shit. Yeah, they're creepy as hell. But the story revolves around this girl and her dad, you know, who have just, my mum's there too, but it's mostly her and her dad, you know, and they've just moved to this town that's surrounded by the woods, and the woods are infested with these creepy witch things, these witches that take children, you know, like they don't just take children for nothing. Like if let's say you have a kid, you would take that kid and you would sacrifice it to these witches and they would grant you a wish, but you've got to sacrifice something. You know, whether that's your kid or your girlfriend or something like that. And then once they've taken that thing from you, you won't even remember that it's gone, but it is gone, you know?
I've heard this is so, it's funny. I haven't really read much Scott Snyder, but I came about when his Batman run was going, but I didn't read it, even though I was a huge Batman fan. And I feel
his
like I missed
Batman
out.
Is great.
I know.
Like, honestly, go read The Court of Owls. Read the entire New 52 Batman run until Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo leave. It is sick.
I was afraid to jump into New 52 because I wanted to read some of the older stuff, and then when I read one New 52 issue, just so happened to be what I think is like one of the few Scott Snyder issues everyone hates, and that was when they redid Mr. Freeze's origin, and I was like, oh, this is what the New 52 Batman is. Screw that! And apparently that was the one bad issue.
Yeah, we don't talk about that
issue I read.
We don't talk about that Mr. Freeze at all. That Mr. Freeze is horrible.
Yeah, that was the one issue, and apparently the run is solid gold outside of that. And I happened to pick that one up of all the issues.
Even they did this thing where Bruce Wayne was, you know, quote unquote dead, right? But then you find out he has amnesia and is just living on the other side of Gotham. But like they did this whole thing where Batman is dead, and so the police arrange a thing where there's like a robot Batman and Jim Gordon becomes Batman and stuff like that. That ends up being really good. Like, there's no reason it should be any good at all, but it was awesome. And they have this thing called the Bat Truck, and it's just a massive, like an 18-wheeler truck with a big trailer on the back of it that has, you know, basically a mobile bat cave in it. It is sick. Honestly, that
I
and
read
Mr.
Zero
Bloom was
Year
this
or part of
creepy
it.
as monster bad guy. Like the whole thing was great. Genuinely, like the whole 52 Batman was great.
I read the 0 Year with Red Hood, and I liked that, but I didn't read the Riddler part, and I don't know why. But
You should read Batman 0 Year. That's actually on my list.
I
Like
think I'm
not
gonna
for
read that
today's
too,
list, but
but in
I've got
general.
I've got a big list of comic books that I recommend and that I plan on using in one of these streams. And Batman 0 Year is actually on that list. I just I didn't pick it for today's episode.
I gotta
But
tell you,
yeah,
man, narrowing it down for
stuff.
this has been tough. But I actually kind of wish. I think I'm gonna replace Giant Size because that one's too obvious. I think I'm not gonna include that.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Crazy Mad spoke about that already once before.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I'm gonna use lesser known Claremont stories for instead.
But yeah, Witches. This is the cover of the trade paperback. If you want to find it, like if you see that, you've got the right thing. And it is a great, like, I don't want to say scary, like it's definitely horror themed, but it's not scary at all. It's more like a spooky story, like it's really good. And you follow the daughter of this of the main character, it's her and her family, but you follow the daughter around as she goes to school and like learns about all these monsters and then eventually gets attacked by them. And it's got a neat twist at the end too. But great stuff. Truly great. It's a good book. And yeah, like, fantastic art by Jacques.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, the whole book looks like that and it's sick. And this chick here is her bully. Like that's the main character with the red hair and the glasses. And this chick is like an absolute psychopath who, like chases her into the woods and tries to kill her and pulls out a gun on her and everything. But like, I'm not going to spoil it or show you or anything, but she does not get attacked or shot or anything by her bully. Her bully actually gets killed in the next page. But I won't show you how or why. But yeah.
That's interesting. That sounds
so what's your next?
My next, because I was going to, that reminds me, I'm not going to use it because I wanted to show, Western superiority, especially because Rini was on recently. And I was like, I can't show Manger. So I decided not to. But I was
no manga. We had a manga special last week, and Mo's still reeling from that.
So I have, Mo's.
Yes,
every time I see Mo in a chat, he's always just angry about that anime. I love it. That's funny. Lost Ronin was gonna be on my list, but it's like too obvious. So I'm gonna go with, like I said, 1986, greatest year in comic book history. There's a million reasons why, right? One of the ones that I recommend highly. Have you read Punisher: Circle of Blood?
Nope.
All right, dude. 5 issues, phenomenal.
Junji Ito's fantastic. You shut up, crazy mad.
Junji Ito is great. So I've had this signed by a lot of people. I have all the issues, but man, Punisher: Circle of Blood was the first solo Punisher story. It's a 5-issue miniseries. Mike Zeck. And then Stephen Grant. It was so right before, and then Mike Barron's run is the Unlimited series after that. So Mike Barron follows this one up. But I wanted to highlight Punisher: Circle of Blood because holy crap, is this story awesome! Just the opening splash, or it's not even a splash.
Eric.
The opening page is literally just Punisher walking into prison, and you see everyone is just terrified because like, oh my god, he's gonna kill all of us. It's such a perfect introduction to the character. The covers are iconic. I mean, even if you've never read the comic, you've seen like all the covers for it, I'm sure. It's basically like, so they are deciding that Punisher is good and they want to create a group of Punisher-like people that are just going to kill all criminals. And now Punisher has to take down these like fake Punishers. And it's like there's mob connections, nonstop action. It's great. I mean, it's pure Punisher, pure classic Punisher as you love him. Even down to the point, because there's a lot of modern depictions are trying to make him like an unhinged psychopath with no morals at all. And it's refreshing to see, like, there's a scene where the police try to arrest him and he goes, I don't fight you. I have too much respect for you guys, whatever. And it's I'm like then I
have
remember
you read Civil War?
As soon as I haven't yet, actually, but I remember some guy, some lefty that I follow was like posting, Punisher hates cops, dipshit. And I literally just opened up my comic, took a picture of that page. I go, have you read this? He goes, no. And I go, it's one of the most famous Punisher stories ever. What's your favorite Punisher comic? And they're like, I haven't read any. I was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, what are you even talking about then?
Shut the fuck up. He goes, yeah, well, here's Punisher Certain Cops. And I just Googled Punisher attacking cops, and the image he sent me was literally the first image that came up. I was like, dude, you don't read comics. I know for a fact you just Googled that because I Googled it and got the same result. I got this. But yeah, so this one is a great story. The art is kick-ass. The writing is kick-ass. It's just pure classic Punisher. I mean, there's some really cool. What I like
Punisher,
about
the
it.
cover of that again.
All right, so you've seen this cover. It almost looks like an 80s video game cover, actually.
I have seen that cover, yeah.
Yeah, so you've seen, I mean, likely all 5 covers in this series you've seen. It's the best. Yeah, this one looks like a video game cover too. I mean, this whole thing is just, it's even every page I look at, someone's getting the shit beaten out of them or getting killed, or if not, it's expressive enough where you don't need that. I mean, it's overall, you can get through it super fast. Punisher Circle of Blood, the first solo Punisher story, and it set the record straight and now set the bar very high. And then Mike Baron had to follow it up, which I do recommend his run too. From what I've read, very good. Assassin's Guild also is a very good Punisher story too. But yeah, Punisher Circle of Blood. I was like, I want to read some Punisher, especially after he was getting canceled. And so I was like, let me start at the beginning. Right. That story kicked ass. Even one of the things I like about it too is you didn't need to show explicit gore. It was almost sometimes leaning it to the reaction. Like there's one part where this guy gets his head kicked out of a subway window, and then you just see Punisher's reaction, like, and I'm like, that's almost more effective than showing the gore. Like, it's just overall a kick-ass story. Can't recommend that highly enough.
Well, yeah, the reason I brought up Civil War a second ago is there's this great scene in that where he decides that he's going to join Captain America's side, and Captain America's like, "We don't want you. You're a monster," and he beats the crap out of him. But Punisher refuses to fight back because he thinks Captain America's a hero, and he's like, "I respect everything you stand for. I'm not going to fight you." And he ends up all bloodied and everything. He's just like smiling, saying, like, "You're my hero. This is great." And it's like a great moment between Captain America and the Punisher.
The new Punisher writer who I've never interacted with blocked me on Twitter. I've never talked to this man. Didn't even know who he was.
Yeah, so I've lost track of how many of them have blocked me. Honestly, it's kind of ridiculous at this point because there's a bunch of them I don't even know who they are, and it's like, well, how did you what did I ever do that made you block me? Because I've never seen you before, and I'm not a fan of yours, or even not a fan of yours. I've never spoken about you. I have no idea what you do, and yet you've blocked me. So cool. Yeah, sweet. Thanks for that.
I have the original. I bought actually Cecil after I met him for the first time. He was doing a comic auction, and I bought the original 5 issues from there. I have the blog Vaughn on. Oh, it's so good.
Crazy Man's about to block us.
Okay, go. All right, but yeah, I mean, I can't recommend that enough. And one of the things I also liked is I talked to Stephen Grant and then Mike Baron. And the thing is, their Punishers, even though the slight differences, you could tell it's the same character. And both of them had very conflicting opinions on the Punisher as a character. So Stephen Grant, who wrote this, says he doesn't view him as a bad person, but he does think he's a psychopath in the clinical definition. Whereas Mike Baron doesn't feel, he thinks he's a man of honor. But what's interesting is if you read both their versions, while you could tell the writers' perspectives are a little different, it feels like the same character. And I'm like, that's what writers used to do. It wasn't just their soapbox. They did the character, and yeah, they had their feelings, but they kept the character consistent and gave you a story that you'd want.
Yeah, and they wouldn't just put themselves in the books either. Like they go, "Oh, this is what the character would think. Even if I disagree with that, this is how the character would act." And so that's what we're doing.
Like, the writer could make the Punisher
because we make better comics than them.
Probably.
Thanks, Felix. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a high recommend from me. Everyone in the chat, if you haven't read it, it's like essential comic book history. And again, 1986, can't go wrong.
Hell yeah. Yeah, 1986. There was something in the water that year, I'm telling you.
Yeah. I mean, Mutant Massacre, Crisis, Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, Daredevil Born Again, Elektra Assassin. Frank Miller alone had 4 bangers that came out that year.
Daredevil's one of my all-time favorite characters. I swear, he never has a bad run. Well, I mean, he does sometimes, but most of the time he doesn't.
And speaking of, that brings me to my next one: Frank Miller's Daredevil run.
Hell
Frank
yeah, that's a
Miller's, and
classic.
also Frank Miller's entire, and I made if you guys go to my channel, I made a video, the definitive Frank Miller Daredevil reading order. I do want to, we keep putting it off because Rini and I are so busy, but we are going to do a show. We'll get whoever else on we can called Comic Strip Club, where I'm making her go through Daredevil, Frank Miller's Daredevil, and then in return, she's making me go through Berserk. So we're going to do that.
They're doing that to me right now too, man. I'm reading Berserk right now because Rini and Odin were like making me do it. It's not bad. Not bad.
No, I know I'm gonna like it, but I was like, okay, but we were gonna do almost like a trade deal. Yeah, comic strip clubs because it's like, you know. Comic,
Hell, Adam, welcome.
So obviously, but to start off, I do think everything Frank Miller's Daredevil and Elektra run, I should say, Elektra Assassin is insane. I love it. It's so nuts. It's not at all what I was expecting, and I love it. But if I were to start off, well, you have the full run. If you're going to read one Frank Miller Daredevil story, just one, here's what you start at. In my opinion, the definitive starting point, and I'll go through I give you the whole reading order in the video on my channel, but the definitive starting point was my starting point, and that is Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, the mini-series, but that retells his origin. And what I like about it is you should, in my opinion, read it at the start of the run, and then go back and read it again once you've read everything else, because it's the last story he wrote, but it's the first one chronologically. And what I like about it is that you could tell he seamlessly integrates stuff he came up from throughout his entire Daredevil catalog into that original origin story, and it's seamless. And what I like about it is it's not redundant either, because when Elektra shows up in The Man Without Fear, there's a part where it's like, you know, she loses I won't spoil it, but she loses someone in her life. Well, you find out the full story of that in a different, so that flashback is skipped over in here. So that way, when you then go and read Frank Miller's Daredevil run, that gap is filled because then you see that flashback in full. It's but even outside of that, it's when I was writing the origin story for my superhero, I pulled from this. It is one of the greatest origin stories in comic book history. It's a self-contained story. But after reading it, you will be so endeared with Daredevil, with Elektra. In my opinion, actually, this is going to be a controversial opinion. I think in terms of like her character, maybe not drawn, but in terms of her character, this is the sexiest Elektra has ever been. I think it's the best because I think when you see her, because when she's introduced, she's an old love. Seeing him fall for Elektra in real time and how it totally changes his life. It's the most in love I've ever felt with Elektra. I think this is the best Elektra's been, or at least partially in this story. But I can't recommend this 5-issue miniseries highly enough. It'll make you a lifelong Daredevil fan if you've never read Daredevil in your life.
I actually second that recommendation. It's some of the best stuff best comic books you'll ever read. You know, like even if you don't really like Daredevil, you know, like nobody hates Daredevil. But this is the sort of book that will make you a fan of Daredevil.
I've told friends who openly have told me they hate superheroes to read this book if they don't give a shit about I tell everyone this is because Frank Miller's original Daredevil run, like the first couple issues, he didn't write, and you could tell they were finding the footing. This is like, if I want to get someone to say this is what makes comics great, this is what it's all about, I can't recommend Daredevil, the Man Without Fear highly enough. It is a masterpiece.
Hell yeah.
So,
all right. Well, my next recommendation is, like, I'm sure everyone in the chat knew this was coming, but this is going to be the next thing that I put in my big box chock full of cocks. So become a member today if you want to win a trade paperback version of this. But this is actually sick. It's Dark Souls, the comic book by George Mann. Have you ever actually seen this before? This is some really good stuff, man. Like, this is, it's, the Dark Souls universe. So it's all super dark and there's big monsters and all kinds of stuff. But the book is actually, like, it's got these digital painted pages, which look fantastic. Like, here you go. This is a double page spread in the book. And this is only at the very start, too. So it's not even spoiling anything. But the book is fantastic. Like, this is what it looks like on every page throughout the entire lot of it. And you follow this character, and there's a couple other characters, but you follow this chick who is, she's a knight, but she's undead. So like she's starting to rot, like she can't be killed. And by the end of the book, she's basically just like a walking corpse, But it is it is a really just truly compelling book, and they all talk like, you know, like ye old English style. They're like, "Steel thyself, scryer, we shall not be outwitted by these fiends."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, behind thee, things like that, you know. But it
Yeah.
is some of the coolest shit you will ever read in a comic book, and the entire book has this like painted art style which just looks incredible throughout. The entire lot of it looks fantastic. And I've got the complete collection, but this is just volume 1, and this is what will be put in the big box chock full of cocks. So,
Nice.
you know, become a member today for your chance to win this, and then you won't even need to buy it. But it's not expensive anyway. It's like $20. But it's a great book. It's Dark Souls. Everyone is undead. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that is a fair point. But yeah, this is a great story. And, you know, like, I don't know what else to say about it. Like, it's sick. It honestly, it's very cool. It has a lot of big monsters, a lot of great fight scenes, some interesting interactions between all the characters, because, you know, some of them are not, you know, don't want to be here and things like that. And they have like everything from like wizards to, you know, just creepy ghouls to ghosts, and obviously these knight characters and stuff like that. But it is sick. How many controllers does that book make you break? None. It's just a book. You know, you won't die in this book. It's fine, and it'll be sick.
Yeah,
the chapter titles need to be "You Have Died."
That's cool. Yeah, I've been Dark Souls is one that I'm scared of starting, but I know everyone tells me to play Dark Souls.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna do a Dark Souls stream pretty soon, because I've never really played. I played it a little bit, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun. But yeah, this book is sick. Like, this book is actually the reason I want to play Dark Souls soon, because I've been reading that and I was like, oh wow, this is awesome. But yeah, this is just volume 1. I've got the complete collection, so I've been reading it for a while. But this is awesome, and it's going to be in the box, so become a member, etc., etc. Great book though, honestly, and like, you know, as long as you're not afraid of spiders, like, how cool is that shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and like this big tree monster thing, whatever the hell it is, I don't know. But it is a great book with beautiful artwork throughout and a really interesting story. You know, it's a unique story because it's Dark Souls. You know, it's different to most other things that you've ever read. But yeah, that's it. Dark Souls. Check it out.
It's cool. Yeah, I've been that's one that looks interesting, man. I've been meaning to read some like video game comics in general. But...
Yeah, well, I don't know why, but like a few months ago, I bought like all the Dark Souls books, all of the Bloodborne books, and a few others that were all based on like the Soulsborne series. And like, there's even an Elden Ring book in there. But they are, you know, I haven't read them all yet, but you know, from what I've read so far, they're all pretty sick. Like, they're really good. But yeah, Atheline says he heard of that comic a while ago. What did you hear? Did you hear it was good? Because I'm telling you, it's good right now, man. It's good stuff. For real. Yeah, it should be fun. Famous last word. It should be fun for you guys to watch me suffer.
Yeah,
is what I'm talking about. You know, like, and you know, I do play video games, so I think I'll be okay. Like, how hard could it be, right? Like,
don't say that. Don't say that. That's you famous last. Now I'm with the chat. Famous last words.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fun.
I do wonder if, like, because there were times on stream I was losing my shit doing some stupid fights, and I do wonder if those moments are more fun than when I'm having fun with the game.
They're definitely more fun for.
That's what I feel like. I feel like they like watching me suffer. Because like when I'm happy, you know, I think. But listen, if I was on the other side, I'd probably be laughing at them doing badly too. Because I remember.
Yeah,
those let's plays where like you ever see those like look up gameplay footage of a fight you struggled with and you just see the person making the footage is some dickhead with like maxed out stats and you're like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. I did a video essay on Final Fantasy VII and I was trying to find footage that showcased how I struggle with the boss fight. And every time I looked it up, it was some guy who just like completely sweeps through the boss fight. And I'm like, all right, this is not representative of my. I guess these players are all better than me.
No, Richard, they do not. Most video game comic books, even like Sonic the Hedgehog and stuff, are pretty entertaining. Yeah, not that I've ever read any Sonic. It's just what I've heard.
Ken Penders.
Yeah.
You know about him?
No.
Apparently, so Ken Penders is a Sonic writer, and apparently, like he made such a big stink about like getting his rights or whatever the hell. that like they're just like, all right, screw it. It's not even worth the legal troubles. We're just literally never printing like your hundreds issues of Sonic ever again.
Really?
I don't look into him. He's like a meme. Like people
Wow.
meme on him all the time.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll look into it. I bet he's like, are the original print runs worth a lot of money now because they're never getting made
because
again?
he like because like he like won't let them he won't let them use like anything he did. He just like lose it, and I think they just straight up just are like, dude, we don't want to deal with you anymore. Like, all right, we just print your stuff.
You're such a pain in the ass that just fuck it. We're gonna just give them all up. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I think he crowdfunded his own Sonic knockoff or something. But
Wow.
like he was very into like almost all the extended Echidna characters were created by him. And
oh, really?
So I'm pretty sure.
Like Knuckles' whole family, essentially.
Yeah. And then he was like, all right, I'm going to make my own Echidna book. And I think he did.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, I'm going to expand my thing to basically any video game comic book because Halo I've read. I haven't read Dishonored, but I've heard it's good. But yeah, there's a lot of like video game comic books get the respect that video game movies don't. So, do you know who Scourge is? Scourge from what? Scourge the Transformer? I know who Scourge is. Yeah, I don't know, Felix. You're gonna have to elaborate. You got any recommendations of comics that have the best hand-to-hand combat, or at least the best action? I mean,
that's a good question. I feel like it might be generic, but maybe because it's fresh on my mind. But Frank Miller was always really good at doing that, like blocking out
whether it be like stuff in the Daredevil,
or even that Wolverine miniseries he did with Frank Miller. I just think he's very good at simplifying the actions where everything's clear.
There's some great Batman stuff that showcases his martial arts as well. But I can't think of any specifically where I was like, oh wow, this is a great choreographed.
Well, I can, dude. Look at Batman Hush. I mean, even the way even though these aren't necessarily Batman fight scenes, there's a fight scene between Lady Shiva and Catwoman where you could just see Lady Shiva just decimating Catwoman. Or for some reason,
right, yeah.
Or there's the Harley Quinn. Even when I was writing a script, I used this as a reference image when Harley Quinn is chasing Catwoman around on stage. And Jim Lee is very good at conveying those panels with multiple actions.
Yeah, the direction that they were going. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know who also does? There's a Graham Nolan Batman issue, is one of the early ones where like Huntress like hits someone and then flips them. Graham Nolan is very good at drawing action in a very clear way. I'm trying to think.
One in the chat if I should stop commenting, or two if I should help Dean practice his gatekeeping. Either or, Mo. Either or. You're a member, so you can do whatever you want, mate. G'day, Suzanne. We just announced another book that's going to be going in my box for the giveaway, so become a member if you want your chance to win. Dark Souls, the comic, is going in there now, which this thing is huge at this point, man. Like, I originally said it was going to be a $200 giveaway. Now it's like a $300 giveaway, honestly. Plus postage. Like, fuck. It's driving me crazy. But yeah, no, I went a bit overboard. I admit that. But yeah, become a member today. Your chance to win. And yeah, no, I have no idea who Scourge the Hedgehog is, Felix. Like, I've never heard that name before. Should I have? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I have no idea. Yeah. Yeah, Mo, read Cardcaptor Sakura. You would love it. Cardcaptor was the shit when I was like 8. But yeah, so what's your next recommendation, Vaughn?
Man, next one is got to be, looking at my sideways list. Okay, so we were talking about this, and
doesn't matter where you live, Suzanne. I'm sending it worldwide. This is just my sacrifice.
Robin Year One. Everyone recommends Batman Year One.
This
Robin
is weird.
Year One. Have you ever read this one?
No, I've never heard anyone recommend
Chuck
this.
Dixon. I know. I figured people wouldn't. It's a very good one. Chuck Dixon did this one.
It's Boxflation.
And it is a damn good story. It's some really, if you want to see some really good Two-Face stuff, that's in there. The artwork is like cartoony, but it's still very violent. You see a bunch of different Batman villains. Chuck is really good at writing Robin, as you'll see. Bat Family in general. I mean, it's right. Chuck Dixon. What can you say? It was one of those ones that I kind of went back to. it captures the fun of being a superhero while also showing the dark stuff too. Like there are parts where Robin gets the crap beaten out of him, but there's also parts where you're like, yeah, man, this must be fun. Like it's a perfect mix of both. I haven't I'm looking at it, I'm already feeling nostalgic. I haven't reread it in years. But man, this is such a good read. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's a good companion piece. Batman Year One is almost more noir. This is very different from Batman Year One tone wise, where it's like now we're in the superhero world. And now Batman has a rogues gallery of villains. There's some great Killer Moth stuff in here. There's some
Killer
great
Moth is hilarious.
All right, so if you like Killer Moth, there's like peak Killer Moth hilarity in this book. Like Chuck gets that character and how goofy he is.
Nice.
You know, and it's really cool because what I like about this book is it starts off with him fighting people like Mad Hatter, Killer Moth. And then it's like when he gets to someone like Two-Face, it's like, oh shit. And you realize, like, okay, Robin has to have an adjustment period. And now everything's called into question. It's what it is it's like, it's a perfect superhero story because it's like Robin goes from like, yes, this is great. He's fighting these goofy villains to suddenly now he's fighting one of the big leagues. And you see how sadistic Two-Face is and how brutal he is. And now Robin has to take on this threat. And the cartoony art style is great because it's almost like misleading you into this sense of comfort. So when you get to Two-Face, it's like, oh man. But you know, you see Mr. Freeze, you see an assortment of Batman villains in here. And it's just it's a short story. I think it's like 4 issues, start to finish. Very good read. I highly recommend it. And one of them, whenever there are a few comics I point to when people are like, Robin is useless, and this is one of the ones where I'm like, no, Robin is great. I honestly would love to see if Chuck did this for every Robin. Like if there's a Robin 2 year 1 where it's Jason Todd, there's a Robin 3 year 1 where it's Tim Drake. And then that's all the Robins we need to cover. You know what I mean?
I've literally never heard anyone talk about Robin Year One before, so I'll give it a look.
Like, dude, I'm surprised. I read the motion comic of Batman Year One. I have Nightwing Year One. I never finished it. But Robin Year One.
I got Batman Year One.
Yes. Well, so Batgirl Year One, I read the motion comic for. Batman Year One, of course, I've read. Robin Year One, I remember I used to, when I was first getting into comics, because I was afraid to just get what was on the shelf. I wanted to know the origins. I read almost every Year One book DC put out. Some of them were great, some of them weren't. But I would read almost all of them. And Robin Year One should be considered. It's one of those ones that's very underrated. I feel like a lot of Chuck Dixon's Batman stuff doesn't deserve or is missing the top 10. Oh, I just thought of another one I should have put on my list. Oh my God. All right. I'll have to come back another time, man. Robin Year One. Can't recommend it highly enough. Very good.
Hell yeah. I've never actually, I'm going to write that one down because I've never actually heard of that before.
Quick read. It's a quick read, and you're going to remember. It's a memorable one. It's a mix of fun and heartfelt. It's probably one of my favorite. I mean, it's more about Robin, but I mean, it's some good Batman stuff. Actually, looking at it, they kind of draw Batman with the Year One suit. So it's weird how like these Year One stories have a shared like continuity. But yeah, it's really cool. It's like from Robin's perspective of what it's like being with Batman and how it goes from like, this is awesome to this is terrifying. And the whole time it's enjoyable.
Well, Richard Vork has an unpopular opinion. He says, I like the Bat family minus Batman when they have time to get out of his shadow.
I never played Batman. You were saying Gotham Knights is bad because I was interested in the premise of Gotham Knights. I got to read more. I want to read Chuck's Robin run.
I don't think anyone likes Gotham Knights. Honestly.
Yeah, I've heard that it's bad.
Yeah,
but I mean, I love Tim Drake. I love the Bat family, and I'd personally love to see more of them outside of Batman's shadow. But I like the Bat family. The problem is there needs to be like limits where it's Batman can't be a loner and also have 20 sidekicks. You know, I think he needs to have like the animated series. I felt had a good balance where it was like Nightwing, Batgirl, Robin, boom. Okay, but now we have like 5 different Batgirls. We have like 3 different Robins currently. There should be like one
There should be
active,
one Robin at a time. Yeah.
and I think bye kill Damian Wayne and put Tim Drake back, please.
Yeah, nobody likes Damian.
That's why I never, honestly, can I be honest? That's one of the main reasons I never read Scott Snyder's Batman, is because I was like, Damian's Robin.
Well, no, in Scott Snyder's Batman, there's like barely a Robin, you know, like they show up sometimes. You got like Nightwing and Red Hood and all that showing up, but most of the time it's just Batman by himself.
Listen, all the reasons I had for not reading it were dumb, but I was also a dumb kid, so you know.
Yeah, no, I have most of the things that I had never read. They're just like dumb reasons why.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it. Don't worry. But yeah, my next recommendation is, we'll stick with Batman for a bit. Yeah, we got Batman, Superman, Supergirl from like 2004 or something. I actually have these. Like I have the actual floppies of these, and I bought them off the rack when they were brand new. Yeah, like this is. Hold on, let me go to the next one. Like this is what the cover of issue 1, you know, issue 8, but you know, part 1 of the story looked like. But this entire thing is drawn by Michael Turner. They have actually since made, you know, an animated movie out of it.
That's why I know
it's pretty spot on.
I've seen the animated movie a bunch of times, but I never read the comic.
You know, it's pretty similar. The end's a little bit different, but it's pretty similar. Like it's pretty much the same stuff. But yeah, the whole thing with Batman and Darkseid is spot on. Like that's exactly what he does in this book. But there's a lot more Wonder Woman and the Amazons and everything like that in this that aren't in the animated movie that you'll miss out on.
Oh, really?
But this is some really good stuff. Hold on, I don't want to go too far again. Yeah, this is the last image because the other one doesn't work. Yeah, for some reason the other image I saved won't show up here, which is stupid. But this is, you know, Michael Turner drew it. It's written by Loeb, I think.
Jeff Loeb, who's one of my favorites, man.
It is, yeah. And this is sick. I can't recommend this enough. This came out at a time when I was, you know, just getting into comic books properly for myself. And it's one of those books that I was like, wow, like I think I love comic books, guys. Like this is fantastic.
Drew the connection. This is the same creative team as Soulfire. So I'm wondering if maybe they liked working together on this, and then Michael Turner was like, hey, can you do Soulfire for me?
I mean, maybe. But like one of the pictures that won't appear on the screen for some stupid reason is when Supergirl first shows up, right?
She's naked.
It's actually in the first issue. She's naked. Yeah, she is naked.
Yeah, I remember that.
She speaks Kryptonian. She speaks Kryptonian, and it's all in this thing that's actually on the back cover of this issue. I don't know if it's in the trade paperback or anything, but you have the Kryptonian alphabet that you can translate it all when she's talking.
Do this?
I don't know. But she has a conversation with She has a conversation with Superman, and they, you know, explains who she is and everything, but she can't speak English. And so when she first shows up, her entire first appearance, she's speaking in this Kryptonian language that I wish I had the picture won't work for some reason, but like I wish it would pop up. It was, you know, it's written in Kryptonian, and it just plays out as if you're supposed to understand it. And it is great. But yeah, it goes to Apocalypse. It features Darkseid and Granny Goodness and all of her little monster bitches.
He draws a great Wonder Woman.
It's fantastic. And yeah, he does. He draws a great Wonder Woman. Yeah, see, no, goddamn, there's 2 images that won't appear because I actually had an image with Wonder Woman on it. It's got Big Barda and all that in it as well. Like, this is a great book.
I got to read this one.
Yeah, you definitely have to. Everybody has to read this one. And the way Michael Turner draws Batman is just sick. It's my favorite Batman, even to this day. It is amazing the way he draws Batman. Yeah. You barely ever see Batman's legs. Like his cape is just always just all around him, and it's just drooping down. It's sick. It is honestly sick. G'day, Billy. Welcome.
Because I think the reason I haven't read this yet was because isn't it right after? Because I do also intend on reading the story that precedes this, which is what Public Enemies.
Enemies.
Because I love both of those movies, and I remember they tied into each other, and I was like, the art styles are so different, but I like them both.
Yeah. Well, Public Enemies is pretty spot on as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it, there's a lot more in Public Enemies that was taken out of the animated movie, but it's generally the same story, you know. Like, and there's this. In fact, this entire Superman Batman run up until, you know, like the first year or two at least, so, you know, 20 issues or something, was great. Like I was reading these every month as they were coming out, and it is seriously awesome.
I gotta read
Batman has a Bancroft level forehead. No, that's his entire head. Like he's looking down so you can see up above his head. Yeah.
Took me a second. I was like, what's that?
Yeah, like Wookiees in the Star Wars Holiday Special, exactly. Because she doesn't know what's going on. She's just like screaming in Kryptonian.
Yeah, I think they used to call it, which Kryptonese sounds stupid. Like it should be Kryptonian.
I think they did used to call it Kryptonese, to be honest.
I'm glad they changed that, honestly.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a great book. And, you know, you can still get the trade paperbacks and everything.
I have
which, yeah, you know, like that's what that other cover was. But now I've closed it, so I can't open it again. But yeah, the you know, the trade paperback isn't expensive at all. And you'll get that plus more. But this Batman, Superman, Supergirl is a great book, and it's, you know, Michael Turner and Jeff Loeb, so you can't go wrong, honestly.
Oh yeah,
highly
dream
recommend.
team. As we've established, they are a dream team.
Yeah.
Jeff Loeb, very nice guy when I met him too.
Jeff Loeb wrote most of the comic books that I was reading as like a young teenager and stuff growing up. It's like a lot of them are Jeff Loeb.
I mean, he did a lot of. I mean, listen, a lot of my first comic ever was Batman Hush, which I got him to sign and draw a little Hush in. And then
Hush is like my favorite ever, honestly.
And then Long Halloween, Dark Victory. Actually, speaking of, that's one of the cool things is Robin Year One fits in that vein. I feel like this takes place, if I were to put it chronologically, probably while Dark Victory is going on from Robin's perspective, if I were to guess. But yeah, no, I mean Jeff Loeb is the man.
Yeah, hell yeah. And yeah, you can't go wrong with Michael Turner. He's never drawn anything bad ever.
I have yet to see it. Anything bad, I mean.
Yeah, and there's this whole thing where Darkseid comes back. It's like these weird Darkseid clones, and there's 100 of them, and they invade, you know, the Amazon island and stuff. It's sick. It is honestly sick.
That's why you have to get this Michael Turner creation. You like, this is priority alpha for you, man. It's the hardcover. Look it up. I think it was on Kickstarter years ago. I got it for, like, secondhand, but
yeah, I'll have to look on like Amazon or eBay or something. Hopefully I can find it.
I think you can get it on Amazon. It's worth the price. It's
nice.
And it was a decent. I think I got it for like $35. Like,
oh, that's way cheaper than I was expecting.
But I also got it at a con. It was the same con I actually got that Batman Superman book. It was the same con. Kayla was the one that actually sold me that Batman Superman Supergirl. She was like, "You should buy this," and then I did. I just haven't read it yet.
Yeah, definitely highly recommend that. And Kayla has great choices more often than not. So, listen to her when she recommends something.
Let's see. I think I can find it on Amazon for you. Yeah. Oh, sorry. So you're gonna have to pay like $75.
That's fine. That's nothing.
No, it's well worth the $75.
I have like $300 books on my shelf. You know, like that's fine.
Yeah,
I don't mind at all.
It's well worth it. Was that a soft cover? Oh.
A dream team, Biggs, Haas, and Power Max. I would buy that. Are you the new artist for ARO? Is that what's happening? Are you the AR-15 orangutan secret artist, Billy? We're not going to wait for them to respond. It's fine. They're probably a little bit behind us. Oh, sweet. Let me have a look.
Oh, wait. Yeah, that's a soft cover. I don't know if there is a hard cover. Yeah.
It'll probably pop up.
I think it's a soft
Have we lost
cover.
Vaughn again, or is he just sitting real
here.
still? No, we lost him.
What do you mean? I'm here.
He's gone. I'm by myself again. Me? Something's going on with
Are you gaslighting me?
Internet.
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. He's back. Yeah, no, you were frozen for a while.
On your end? Because on my end, I was perfectly fine. Last time
you were frozen on my end. You were frozen on my end, yeah. So, ARO sets the standard that all standards should be set to. This is true.
So was that your last one, or were you?
No, I have a couple more.
Curious.
Do you want me to do another one?
I don't care. Out? No, I don't know. I'm not running out. I'm having fun talking about comics, so take your time.
Comics are awesome. I'll recommend this one. I've been doing this every like couple of streams as well now. But have you ever read any Versus comic where they're like this character versus that character?
Versus comic.
Because I've recommended Wolverine versus Predator. I've recommended.
I haven't read any of those. I have a print of Wolverine and Predator fighting, but I don't have. I've never read it. That was Chuck Dick. No, Chuck Dixon wrote Predator versus Batman, I think. But I haven't read any of those. I don't think.
Yeah, Predator versus Batman is sick too. There's Wolverine versus Blade. There's Archie versus Predator. There's a whole bunch of them. Bloody Transformers versus Terminator is another good one.
Never
There's a whole bunch of them. Yeah, they're ridiculous and sick. But anyway, one that I'm recommending today is Batman versus Alien. Have you seen? There's actually 2 of these, but I'm only recommending the first one because the second one's kind of goofy. It's not bad, but like this one is much better. And it's drawn by Bernie Wrightson of all fucking people.
That
It is
sounds
sick.
awesome.
This is sick, and I'm going to show you as a picture in a second. But like the interior artwork is all drawn by Bernie Wrightson, and it's basically these soldiers go down to like, the middle of the Amazon rainforest or something, some undisclosed location, because there's a temple pyramid thing that has been discovered, and all of the doctors and scientists and stuff went missing. And when you get when they're down halfway through their mission, and Batman shows up, and he's like, "This is my mission, bro." He takes control of the situation. But when they get there, all of the doctors and everything are dead, and they have big holes in their chests, because aliens, right? And he has to fight these aliens, and a face hugger gets on a goddamn crocodile, which is turns out to be this massive, crocodile xenomorph thing. It is. I'm not going to tell you anything about there's a massive fight scene between Batman and this giant xenomorph crocodile thing, and it is so good. It is such a comic book. This is such a comic book, and it is so sick. Honestly,
I want to
recommend this book.
The same thing I did with Claremont era X-Men. I want to do with 90s Batman. I want to go through all of Nightfall, all these crossovers, the Robin stuff, all the Bat titles that who did Jim Ballant, Catwoman. I want to go through all of that and just that. I want that. That's probably when I do cover a long span of even the Batman crossovers in the 90s are cool. Alien, Predator.
Well, yeah, all of these I recommend. There's Batman versus Alien, Batman versus Predator, Superman versus Alien, Superman versus Predator, and Batman Superman versus Alien and Predator. And it is sick. Every one of them are good, honestly. But Batman versus Alien is one of my favorites, if for no other reason than this giant crocodile xenomorph. Yeah, it is some of the coolest shit you'll ever read, and it is such a comic book. It's just comic book stuff, that you don't get anywhere else is in this book.
Yeah,
it's sick. And it's drawn by Bernie Wrightson, so you can't go wrong.
The more I've gotten into comics, the more I've just loved and realized there's so much you can do in comics that you just can't do in any other medium. And case in point, look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, this is insane.
People are oh, that would be so cool if they were to do it. And it's there are comics like that, and they'll be like, I want a movie, which is fine. Batman vs. Elmer Fudd, I heard was Lee Weeks told me that
Elmer Fudd was unexpectedly good. Yeah.
Lee Weeks told me that he was, because I was talking to him. He goes, dude, that he was telling me, he was that is one of my career favorites, and I was shocked.
It's a good book. Yeah, it's a good book. It was surprisingly good. It's better than it had any right to be. But this here, this story itself, they never mention when it happens or anything like that. But at the very end of it all, Batman destroys any evidence of the aliens. He even throws a glass container that has a face hugger in it down to the bottom of the Batcave so that no one will ever find this stuff. And so it could just straight up be canon.
I love when they do stuff like that, where it's could it? That's how a lot of Batman stories are. I feel where you could go, this could happen. This could have happened. This could have not. Is there any Robin in this?
No, it's just Batman in the jungle. It's Batman in the jungle and in this temple thing with
nice.
this. So this is happening. You can't really tell from the background, but this is in a cave because the water runs into the cave and they're trying to escape. And that's where they meet this giant thing here, which, you see it happen. You see the face hugger grab onto the crocodile, and then you see the crocodile's dead body. But then you never see this xenomorph thing until they get to the point where they're both meeting each other. And you knew it was coming, and it is so good. It is honest. This is classic, campy, ridiculous, action-packed comic book drawn by Bernie Wrightson. It's good stuff. It is really good stuff. Highly recommend.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and this is the cover I have. This is the cover for the trade paperback, and it was also issue 1 cover. But this is the cover. Look for that. You can probably find it on Amazon and stuff. It's a good book. It is a really good book. And yeah, Xenomorph Crocodile. What's not to love? Well, yeah.
All right, I'm adding this to my Amazon watch list. So they have. It looks like they probably won't have it at a decent price, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, I don't think it's in print anymore. Like it's been a long time.
Yeah, that's. Oh man, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, like I just got lucky. I've had it since I was a kid. Like I bought the trade paperback from the comic book shop years and years and years ago now. But highly recommend it if you can find it. If not, just download a digital copy of it. You can probably pirate it somewhere. It's worth a read, and it's super fun. Like it's just such a comic book.
I love that. Mo Biggs, god damn it. Yeah. All right. So is it my next or are you next? Hello?
Oops, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, you go next. You go next.
All right. Okay.
I'm adding this Michael Turner Creations thing to my.
Yeah.
Holy crap! The paperback is $54. The hardcover is $1,008.
What? Probably
What
it was a
the
Kickstarter, dude. I got this for like maybe it was 50, but like I got it for a good deal. Like at that con, I'm glad I bought it because I was like, oh, that's a little pricey, and then I was like, I'm glad I paid $1,000.
I found a better price. The hardcover for $523. It's a better price, but like it's still super expensive. That's still
insane. That's
yeah,
way more than I paid for it.
That is
but
awesome.
I think Kickstarter is why. But yeah, I mean, I think they should keep that in high circulation. Like that should not be hard to find at all. They should have overprinted that to the max. Like that
adding it all to my wish list right now.
Yeah, that's a good one. See if you could find it. I'm sure you could find it cheaper on other websites. I hope. But it's because you'll love this book. Man, to my next one, I'm hopefully gonna have both of these writers on my show this week, actually, because 21 Down is on Kickstarter. Have you they're doing a trade paperback, which I have the single issues, but I've never read it. So the first guy to ever give me critique on my script was Justin Gray. Now, Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti have done a lot of stuff together. They did Jonah Hex. They did a bunch of stuff, but one run that they did that I love, they did with Amanda Connor and Paul Mounts. It is their Power Girl run. Now, they just recently did a trade paperback. I have to get it soon. I keep putting off getting it. I should really buy that. But let me see if I can pull it up. Because I read it all digitally. I have a couple of physical issues, but it is. Here, I'll share my screen. Right here, this Power Girl run. It's just 12 issues. It's really a simple read. All right, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up on get that on Amazon. But it's a simple read. It's only 12 issues. It reads fast. And what I love about this, you talk about pure comic books. This is a different kind. It's a pure comic book story. It's just nonstop fun for 12 issues. Apparently, Justin Gray was telling me that DC was
Richard.
That DC, it was right after Infinite Crisis. Now, if you know Infinite Crisis, Power Girl had a tough time in that story because she was from Earth 2, and then she was getting everyone back, her Superman, only for them all to die. And so they were gonna do this dark thing, but they were like, no, Power Girl should be fun. Look at her, like she's hot, and it's this great. She's hot. She's got these powers. She's got like a company. She has everything. Let's do something fun with her. And this run is just pure fun. It's just.
Do you want to play a game?
And Amanda Connor is like one of my favorite artists, and the way she draws Power Girl, I don't think anyone has ever. I think like when I think of Power Girl, I think of Amanda Connor's art. I have a print of this. Like her Power Girl is so fun. I just actually from Jimmy's Kickstarter got they had their own Power Girl thing, so I bought that from them. But I mean, this run, one of the things I love about it, I mean, down to the fact so everyone is always hitting on Power Girl whenever she saves them. It's like a running joke throughout the comic, and like that every time she'll be like saving this firefighter and be like, oh, what are you doing later? And she's like, okay, here we go. Or it's like that like there's guys that will come in, like one guy who's like, please, I'm an alien. My species is dying. I need you to repopulate. Like it's just nonstop fun. Or it's like there's a gorilla that's trying to swap out her brain. Like, oh, please, I want your body. And she's like, really? You want to be in my body? He's like, yes, of course. Like it's
G'day, whack ass.
It's nonstop comic book fun. It's the colors. I love, even this is a weird detail. I don't know why, but it just, even the way Power Girl's blue gloves pop when she punches someone. Just, I love Paul Mounts' coloring. I mean, there's the issue where the kid blackmails Power Girl into going to the comic shop with him. It's just nonstop comic book fun that we are missing. It's just like, I love it. And obviously the art is great, but you could just tell, like, even when I was bringing this to Amanda Connor, she just to get signed one of the issues, she goes, "Oh my God, this run was so fun." And you could just tell that for just these 12 issues, the whole creative team was just having the time of their lives, and it bleeds through every page. And again, quick read, lighthearted fun, with a bit of heart. But yeah, it is pure comic book greatness, and I don't think this run gets talked about enough. And again, it's only 12 issues, and it goes through like that. It's great.
A guy in his room. G'day, a guy in his room. He wants to know, when was this made?
2009.
Nice.
This would have been after Infinite Crisis, before the New 52. Do you remember that awful New 52 Power Girl redesign and Black Canary redesign?
Yep.
I remember, because again, I was first getting into comics when the New 52. So I had seen Black Canary and Power Girl. I go, oh, what do they look like in the current comics? And so I think that's where Woke really started, because I would go, what? And it was like the conversation. I was in middle school, so of course anything with a hot chick had my attention. And then just as I was getting all of this cornucopia, they were taking it from me. I was like, what the hell, guys? Yep. And that's why I think I never got into reading current comics, because it was like everything that I wanted to like, they were telling me, oh, you like Martian Manhunter on the Justice League? Sorry, he's gone. Oh,
it's Cyborg now.
You like Starfire? Oh, well, we're gonna write 15,000 articles on why she's problematic, drawn by Kevin Rocafort.
Yeah, and not only that, you're a piece of shit for liking her too.
Yeah, it was just all this, but this isn't that at all. It's just fun. And I love it for that reason. And they do all the, I wish there was, my only complaint is I wish there was more. But it's like, even though there's 12 issues, like I remember multiple of the storylines. Like they have this other girl, Tara, who shows up. It's just fun. And it's in a time where, and Amanda Connor's art is so expressive, which is one of the things I love. Like, she's great at drawing dynamic. She's great at drawing action too, but also dynamic facial expressions. And almost all the viral panels you see of Power Girl, whether like that people like clip out of context comic moments, it's all from this run. Like, it's just great. So
cool. I'll check it out, because I like Power Girl. I always have, but
this peak Power Girl.
I've never read this, so
neither had I. And I just said, oh, what's Power? Let me read some of this. And it was fun. I'm Not Starfire. That's next on my list, actually.
I Am Not Starfire is like the worst thing ever made.
Yeah, so if you want to see the polar opposite of that, here we go.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. And that's another thing, too. She's like always getting hit on, but she doesn't like do a victim thing about it. She's like, oh, here we go. But then she moves on.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's so good. Yeah, so that run, can't recommend enough.
Hell yeah.
I gotta buy it.
I'm having a look. Yeah, this one's sick. I'm gonna go with this one next. This is actually sick. This is sick, honestly. This here got X-Men by Grant Morrison and Mark Silvestri, but I think this one's not by Grant Morrison. This is Ed Brubaker, Messiah Complex. But I'm also recommending Here Comes Tomorrow, which is just a 4-issue story or something. Basically, Mark Silvestri's X-Men is what I'm recommending, yeah? And you can find these relatively cheap, because they're available in a lot of the trade paperbacks and things like that. Like, this one here is in Grant Morrison's new X-Men Volume 2, I think it is. But like, it's not expensive, and you get a bunch of other stuff too. But basically, any Mark Silvestri X-Men is what I'm recommending to you guys right now. And Messiah Complex is just one issue. Like, it's a much bigger story, but the one issue of Silvestri is what I'm recommending to you guys.
This is post Claremont Silvestri, because I didn't know he came back.
Yeah, this is post Claremont Silvestri. This is for Here Comes Tomorrow. This one is actually one of my favorite X-Men books just ever.
Never read it.
It's like a weird future tale. Like the world has been destroyed and you got all these characters here that aren't, like, I mean, that, you know who that is, right? Cassandra. But like you got Beak and you got Wolverine, you got this future Sentinel chick, like she's like a Sentinel from the future, and she's basically alive at this point. And you got this guy here who can talk to machines. I just can't remember his name, as well as this giant Sentinel that is a good guy, and his name's Rover, and he's adorable. Read this
run. I got
this is such a good book. And you got Beast being all evil because he's been corrupted by something else. Like I can't remember what it's called, but he's been corrupted by something. It's in his brain. It's like a parasite in his brain, and so he's the big bad guy of this entire story. And he calls himself something else, but it's Beast. It's Hank McCoy. And you get Phoenix and everything comes back in this, and like it's drawn by Silvestri, and it's written by Grant Morrison, and it is just sick. It is honestly sick. It's some of the coolest X-Men stuff you will ever read. There's a bunch of evil Nightcrawlers in it because Hank McCoy being, a genius, but now being evil is creating clones of characters and, like mixing all their powers together and stuff like that. So these evil Nightcrawlers, at the start, they're just evil Nightcrawlers, but then by the end of it, they're evil Nightcrawlers who can heal like Wolverine and have laser eyes like Cyclops and shit like that. Yeah, they're massive pain in the ass. But he is like, this here is one of my favorite X-Men books just ever. And I have read the entire Claremont run, and this is only a 4-issue series. You can buy, like, this is the trade paperback of it. If you can find it, it wasn't very expensive. I don't know if it's still around though, to be honest, but you can get it in volume 2 or 3 of the new X-Men stuff, which is definitely still around. And this is one of my all-time favorite X-Men books. It's sick. It's like based in the future. Wolverine's the only one who's still alive. Phoenix, Jean Grey gets reborn because of the Phoenix and stuff. So she comes back about halfway through it, but she's being used by this evil Beast. And like the reason Beast is all white is because he's so old now, but the idea is
interesting.
He's still around,
Never heard of this story. That's
such a good book, man.
This is part of his new X-Men run.
Yeah, this is Grant Morrison's new X-Men, and it's Here Comes Tomorrow. It's just 4 issues inside the new X-Men run, and it is awesome. It is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I've never heard of this one. Well, I'll have to check that out. I actually
highly recommend this.
Kind of pulled it out of my ass, but I was like, you know what? I've been talking. I keep talking about Claremont's run, but I was like, you know what? Let's do a few. Now, I do the problem why I don't recommend enough of individual stories.
G'day, Dana.
Is because generally I think you should read the whole run, but like I'll highlight a few stories that I just love from it because why not? You mentioned Silvestri. One story, it's almost not an X-Men story, despite it being in the pages of Uncanny X-Men. I want to say it's 254. Hang on. Uncanny X-Men. I want to say it's 254 to 255. It is. Do you remember? I think if you want a testament to how good Claremont is, and also how good Silvestri is, because this was during their run, which of course was, they did a lot of really interesting stuff while Silvestri was on the book. If you remember, it was like the time when they were going to Australia, when they revamped the entire lineup to have like
X-Men in Australia is fantastic. Like, I mean, I am Australian, so I probably have a little bit of a connection to that.
It's a good connection.
But it is such a good run.
So yeah, during this time was a weird time for the X-Men. It was at this point in time, they had just gone through the Siege Perilous and left Australia. Although, you know what? I could recommend that whole Outback era too, honestly.
Yeah,
But 254, if you'll notice, there's like no X-Men here, right? I mean, Banshee, but it was like basically what
Banshee
happened.
and Forge, but everyone else, like I don't even recognize half of those characters.
So what happens in this run is, so this is during a point in Claremont's run where the Reavers have supposedly gotten rid of the X-Men. So the X-Men, they've been beaten, they've been driven out of Australia, and they're scattered all over the world. And now to finish off killing mutants, they're going to Moira McTaggart's island, and they're just going to slaughter whatever mutants they can there and steal whatever mutant research, right? And so the X-Men are gone. Like Wolverine, all of them are gone for the time being. Wolverine is like palling around with Jubilee. We have no idea where most of the X-Men are. And so this is where all the side characters band together and they're like, we're going to make a stand as just all were united by as mutants and not get killed here. And so Forge, Moira, McTaggart, they all wear these bulletproof weapon X-Men uniforms. Moira, who's always a scientist, gets like an assault rifle.
Oh, is that Moira?
Yeah, it's Moira. So
is that like Moira before she was a mutant, or Moira as a human?
Yeah, Moira as a human. So
because she's a mutant these days. She's been revealed to be a mutant.
Yeah. So this is, if you look at this, like it's such a weird grab bag of characters, and I love it because it was like they're just like, screw, we're gonna get killed, just grab everyone. And so they grab like the weirdest combination of characters you'll ever see: Legion, Moira, Forge, Banshee. Like
that's Xavier's son there.
Yes.
I would have guessed
Nightcrawler's girlfriend is there. Like literally the weirdest grab bag of characters out there. This, you know who this guy is? That's what the hell is his name? Like, you know, the Morlocks? They get some of the Morlocks in there, and then Mystique and her and the Brotherhood show up. It's like the weirdest grab bag of characters that are like, we need to band together and fight what the hell, the Reavers. And what's cool about it is all these characters can die because they're all side characters, and people die during this battle. Is what is interesting is because none of the X-Men are real. I mean, they had killed Jean, but generally speaking, the X-Men don't die. But dude, they could kill off like these guys. They could kill off any of them, and the series would be able to go just fine. And so
that automatically makes it feel like there's stakes involved, when you have characters dying and stuff. That's really cool.
Alert, some of them do in this storyline, which is really cool.
Oh, damn.
You don't remember, you said you've read Claremont's one. Do you remember this?
Yeah. I remember some of it.
Yeah, this is one of the ones where I'm like, it just showed how good he was, that he could take all these, because he'd have all these main characters, and there'd always be new people dropping in, and suddenly we're like, oh, there's more than enough where you could just throw them all on an island and have them fight against these villains. And it's cool because it's like a mix of superpowers and guns and technology, and it was a really, I don't know, it's such a weird story that I love it, because it's like, you could tell, like, look at this grab bag of characters that they just kind of thrust into the action, and they're like, all right, try and survive. And it's so weird. And like, they'd gone through this time, even down to, do you remember in New Mutants when they have those two people that two doctors that become Native American for some reason? No? Side character. All right, well, they give them machine guns and are like, all right, we got to have them be in the action too. Like, literally everyone is like, shit, we're going to die. We need to just give everyone guns.
Arm up.
And it's just so cool. It's a story that like no one talks about, and I wish people did, because and people die. Like, it's a significant story. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to spoil who dies in the story. I mean, am I?
Oh, if you're going to recommend it, don't spoil it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, people die. Like, there are some people on this cover and on the next cover do not make it, but the Brotherhood has to team up with the X-Men. Like, Pyro's there, Mystique is there, Destiny's there, and not everyone makes it out. And in a lot of, I mean, that you don't say that often with comic book stories, but yeah, people die in this, and it's really cool.
That is awesome.
So can't recommend that story enough. It's also weird because they're like, oh, all new X-Men on the cover. Most of these characters do not join the X-Men. They just put on the costumes. Although Forge and Banshee do. But yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, that's sick. That is sick.
Silvestri too. Silvestri drew it if you need it, in case you didn't have enough reasons to read that.
Silvestri is one of my all-time favorite artists. Honestly, he is incredible.
I think his sequential storytelling is so good too. Like,
yeah,
and he's good. He can draw literally anything. Like, during his run, again, you have he has to, even for this story alone, he has to draw sorcerers. He has to draw like mechanical cyborg characters. He has to draw all this kinds of technology, and then he has to draw like all whatever the hell they're doing in Australia. He has to draw demons in Inferno and a demonic city. Like, he has to draw such a crazy range of stuff when you really look at his X-Men run, and he kills it the whole time. He draws aliens, he draws everything, and it's all good. Like, Silvestri is the man. Yeah.
Hell yeah. And he's only gotten better over the years too. Like, have you seen his newer stuff? Have you read Batman Joker Deadly
Yes.
Duo?
You know,
That is one of my favorite Batman books, honestly.
I wasn't crazy about it when I first read it, and then I got it signed by Mark Silvestri and started talking to him. And it's like the way he talks about it, you could just tell. Like he goes, did you like it? Like, were you excited? Because I like parts of it more than others, but it has one of my favorite Batman moments ever, and it's where. One thing I love about Batman is when they just add little bits of lore that you never even thought about. Like, oh, how did Thomas Wayne propose to Martha? I've been a Batman fan for so long. That was never something that came to mind. And Silvestri takes this little detail, or he expanded so many things about Gotham. How does their subway system work? I never thought I'd care. And then he explains it, and he explains it, but he explains it with a memory of when they were on this little subway train. Thomas Wayne proposed to Martha, and suddenly I care about this train. So that way, when Batman has to burn it down to save people, and what I love about it is that if it took someone like, let's say, Tom King, he'd have this whole, I can't do it, like a lesser writer. Silvestri doesn't do that. It's so pure Batman. He goes, I have to burn it. No hesitation. Burns it. Yeah. No monologue about how this is heartbreaking for him, because Batman will anything that it takes to save lives. And yet people try and say he's an anti-hero. Get the fuck.
No way. Batman's
pure hero.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly that moment you're talking about. And as he's flying down towards it, he's like, it's now worth whatever. Like, we pay this much every year just to keep it maintained and keep it pristine. And then you just see his two hooks like stab into the roof of it. He's like, yeah, and he lands on top of the train. It's great, honestly.
It's so good. That's my favorite part of the story.
He's sick.
Silvestri, I think, draws an amazing Joker, an amazing Gotham City.
Yeah, his Gotham is great. I think it's issue 1 or 2, but you see Catwoman like looking over at Gotham, and there's all like cats everywhere and shit. Like the way he draws the architecture,
he draws women's faces too.
It's all ridiculous. Honestly, I want to draw like that, man, for real.
He draws women with cat-like eyes, so I'd love to see him draw more. I wish Catwoman was in it more. Like the way he draws Storm is so distinct. The way he draws women in general, you can always tell when it's a Silvestri girl just by looking at their face. He's something about. He draws a great she too. If you've ever seen him draw she,
I've never seen his she.
I have a print of it, but even outside of that, I mean, he's he's crazy tall too. He's like almost 7 feet tall. Silvestri is huge.
Is he? What the fuck?
Yeah, I didn't realize how tall he was because he was sitting down at first, and it wasn't until I was getting something signed by Chris Claremont, and I see him walking over, and Chris Claremont's like down here, and he's like way up here, and he's like, but they hugged, which is really cool because I'm like, I was currently reading their X-Men run, so I got to see Mark, how you doing? But yeah, Mark Silvestri is like, I want to say he's like 6'7". He's like
that's wild. I had no idea he was that big. What the fuck?
Until I met him, I was like, holy shit. He is 6'7", yes. Yeah. Mark Silvestri is 6'7".
I have to go back to work in 10 minutes, so we're gonna end the stream here. But thanks everyone for joining us, and subscribe, all that. Become a member if you haven't already, because I'm doing that giveaway soon. Only like 10 days away, and I'll be doing the giveaway. But yeah, Richard says, Batman, I have to burn the train my parents got engaged on, and the church they got married, and the Ferris wheel I was conceived on, and the hospital I was born in. That does.
He probably would, dude. That sounds like what Batman. Although the Ferris wheel he got conceived, I could see like early 2000s Frank Miller writing that line.
Yeah, no shit.
I was conceived on this Ferris wheel.
But yeah. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Vaughn, you've been a great co-host, so I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna play an outro song for everyone to enjoy. This is one I haven't heard yet, though, so you can't judge me if it's bad. Eclectic method.
It's an act of war. I come to good chef to surrender. Come to good chef to surrender. I come to good chef to surrender. Come to good chef to surrender. I come to good chef to surrender. Come to good chef to surrender. I have no idea what you're dealing with. How do I get to Greenwich? It's an act of war.